Hey friends, how are you? So today is a full moon. It is the Shard Purnima, and it is a very special day because it actually is the commemoration. It's not the commemoration, it's actually happening in the spiritual world, the Krsna Saradiya Rasa. Krsna Saradiya Rasa. And as you guys know, I love to cook. And I came across this little tidbit yesterday morning about how the vraja vasis in Vrindavan, after they make kheer, okay, so kheer is an Indian version of rice pudding that I've got on the stove right now that I'm cooking up for you. Well, actually, I wish you were here to have it with me, but I'm cooking it up today because today, like I said, is a very special day. And so what they do apparently is that they take the kheer, the sweet rice pudding, and then they leave it outside in the moonlight, and the moonlight actually makes the pudding sweeter. They say it turns it into amrita or nectar. Well, I found this absolutely intriguing, so of course you know I have to try it. Any excuse to cook anyway. Now, let me get this unsightly can out of the way. So it's a very, very simple recipe. I found one that I thought was awesome because when I lived in the ashram, I made this recipe many, many times. I mean, by the gallon. We used to cook it in these enormous, enormous pots. These enormous, enormous pots. I'm going to try and straighten this out a little bit. Bear with me. Since I'm only doing this with an iPad. Okay. Is that better? Can you see me? Should probably stand on this side. Okay. Anyway, we used to make this in enormous pots. I mean, like, let me try and think. 20-gallon pots and what have you not. But this is a reduced recipe. So it's very simple what you need. You are going to need some organic whole milk. I got a gallon yesterday. A gallon is 8 cups. The recipe that Miss Dashanam, she called for 4 cups, but I'm doubling the recipe, mostly just because I am a kheer fanatic. It calls for 6 tablespoons of sugar. Now I'm using 12 tablespoons of sugar. I've already measured it out. I'm using brown sugar. Because I'm using brown sugar, her recommendation is that you actually put in the sweetener at the end. So there must be something that happens alchemically if you put in brown sugar, during the cooking process. Normally you would do that, but I'm going to take her advice and I'm not going to do it. The other thing that you're going to need, obviously, is some kind of fragrant white rice. Now I'm lucky enough to have basmati rice. Go to Costco and get it in this big bag. They're even making this stuff or growing this stuff in Texas. I don't know if that's still going on. But this is a 20-pound bag. And you're going to need, or I'm using, half a cup of basmati rice. But if you have jasmine rice from Thailand, that would also be really good. I'm going to try and dissuade you from using that really cheap rice, from the store. What is it like? What's it called? Don't use Uncle Ben's or anything like. Don't use Uncle Ben's. Really, you need fragrant rice because that's going to make a difference in how this tastes. And it's easy enough to find. You should be able to find it in Trader Joe's. The other thing that the recipe calls for, if you happen to have it, is saffron. Is some saffron threads because that's going to add a nice flavor to this. If you don't have saffron threads, don't worry about it. Use cardamom, or you can use a combination of both. I don't have saffron threads, so I'm using green cardamom in powder. You want it powdered. She calls for half a teaspoon for 4 cups of milk, but I'm using like 3/4 of a teaspoon. I'm going to do it like that. And that I'm going to dissolve into the kheer when the rice grains are, they should be about half cooked right now. I've been doing this, yeah. Actually, they're already in a good place. You don't want this to be hard. And so the technique is, which I thought was being recorded with sound earlier, and which of course was not, is that you want to take the rice grains, measure them out, put them in a measuring cup, rinse them well, thoroughly, drain them. You want the water to run clear. You don't want any dust or anything like that on your sweet rice. And then cover it with water. And you want to soak it for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And this is going to make cooking this sweet rice, or payasam, as they call it in South India, so much faster. I don't know why we didn't do this in the ashram in Philadelphia. Yes, back in my ashram days, I did a lot of cooking in the temple kitchen. So now that the sweet rice is getting there, and it's about half cooked, because this is going to thicken, I'm going to add the cardamom. Can you see what I'm doing? Probably not. All right, let me move this over, people. This is called cooking with iPad. All right, so this is what the kheer looks like, and I am going to add the powdered cardamom. And I'm going to stir. Smells good. This is the flavoring part. Now, if you happen to have rose water is so nice. You can put a tablespoon of rose water in here. Or if you have kura water, I believe kura is probably kind of a flour that we don't have here. If you're using saffron threads, you would have already taken out a couple of tablespoons of hot milk in the beginning of this process and put your saffron threads in it, so the saffron threads bleed out. And then add it later. As in, add it at this stage here. The other ingredients that you can use to garnish this at the end are pistachios, unsalted pistachios. You can use blanched and sliced almonds like this. And you can also use unsalted cashews. You can also add golden raisins into this recipe. Now, I'm not a fan of raisins in my food in general, but maybe you are. You can use that. The other way you can make this recipe vegan friendly, or at least half vegan, it would be interesting to know that if you could just use coconut milk for this whole recipe, because in South India they use whole milk and coconut milk. Of course, traditionally the Vaishnavas are not killing cows. They're not killing their mother and their father. But I do happen to have toasted coconut, sweetened, which smells wonderful. So I think I'm going to add that. I'm a strong believer in using what you have in the kitchen. So already, since I have been cooking this, You started at like up here, and the level is, it's cooked down, not quite half yet, but we're getting there. So you want this to be thick. You want this to thicken. And as it starts to cool, it naturally will become thicker. But it's important that it also reaches the right thickness, while it's still on the stove. So you just want to keep an eye on it. I brought it to a boil, right? And then after I added the rice, I turned it down. When it was coming to a boil, I was stirring it occasionally, because you will notice that there can be a kind of a film that forms on the bottom of the pot. You have to be careful about that. You want to start stirring so it doesn't burn. It doesn't thicken and burn. Milk burns. And then you've got a very unfortunate situation where you've got this like brown, thick, skin on the bottom of it, and that's like a disaster. If you catch it in time, you can actually transfer it to another pot, and then just do away with the bottom. But really, you don't want to get that far. So what I'm using to stir is that I'm using a dedicated spatula that I only use for sweets. I don't use this for anything else because I don't want the flavor of like onions and garlic or cumin or pepper or whatever else is getting, in my sweets. So that is it. So I'm going to give this about another 20 minutes. Another 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, because this whole recipe from start to finish is supposed to be about 50 minutes, supposed to be about an hour. And then I will add the brown sugar. I'm going to go ahead and add my almonds in it. I'm going to let it cool. And then later on, I think I'm going to go ahead and transfer it. I may transfer it to this bowl. Hey, whoever's watching, we're a special occasion today. It's a Shard Purnim. It's a full moon. This is a special full moon recipe. Then I'm going to transfer it to this. I'm going to completely wrap it in saran wrap, and I'm going to put it out in the moonlight tonight, because tonight is the full moon of Shard Purnim. And then tomorrow, it's supposed to taste like nectar. So this is like a very cool insight into devotional cooking, into bhakti cooking, into yogic cooking, and something I never ever would have thought of. The moon is considered to be given, is considered to be the giver, rather, I should say, of flavors. I mean, farmers know this. Farmers plant, when the moon is going to be full, because it actually helps pull the vegetables up. It helps them grow, right? But also, when I was doing the Mantra Monday and we were going over, I believe we were going over the 10th chapter, the opulence of the absolute, there was some discussion in there. Not only are the sun and the moon the representatives of the Creator's eyes, right? This is how he sees. This is also what gives us sight as well. But that Chandra, the deity governing the moon, because everything has personality, is also giving this sweetness to fruits and vegetables at night. There's so many wonderful mystical things going on the planet that we live on all the time. So when I heard about this, that being able to put out this rice pudding dish at night, and that it would actually sweeten the pot, I think maybe now I know where this this expression originally comes from. I said, I gotta try it. So that is all I am going to do the live for now, because we're not going to hang out on here for another 20 minutes. I'm sure you got other things to do right now. But I'm gonna go ahead and, film the rest of this process, and then I will post it in my private Facebook group where I do a cooking demo once a month on vegetarian and vegan cooking recipes that are I've been doing a gluten-free series, for example, lately, because people need that and they want that, and they want something that isn't boring. If you like spicy food, if you like food with peppers, if you like exotic food, if you've been wanting to change your diet, if you want to walk more gently on the earth, then my private Facebook group called Yoga on the Dance Floor is for you. I go into spices and all kinds of things. Why should we be left out, right? So there you have it. All right, well, I hope that you join me in a few hours, 2:30, actually 2 hours from now, for the unseen footage from the making of my album with Tom Glide, Yoga on the Dance Floor. We're going back 13 years into the vault. I mean, I can't believe it. He told me one day I was going to be happy to have this footage, and he was right. So I've put something together. Go to my YouTube channel. You can find it. It's called Akayani Performs. You'll see the premiere, and then just ring the bell, and then when it goes live, I'll be there with you watching. So very, very happy Krsna Saradiya Rasa Lila today. Happy Kartik. This is also the beginning of a very auspicious month. Kartik, anything spiritual that you do at this time, the benefit that you get from it is like 1,000-fold. And I hope to see you later. Okay, bye-bye now.